चलती चक्की देख कर दिया कबीरा रोए, दो ही पाथन के बीच में साबित बचा न कोई कबीरा, साबित बचा न कोई। चलती चक्की देख कर दिया कबीरा रोए, दो ही पाटन के बीच में साबित बचा न कोई कबीरा, साबित बचा न कोई। It's a beautiful doha. The title given to this doha is The Moving Mill. Watching the grinding stones, chalti chakki dekh kar diya kabira roye, the lamp Kabir cries. Watching the grinding stone, the lamp Kabir cries. Dohi patan ke beech mein sabit bacha na koi, none survives inside the two stones. Simple, innocuous, but very deeply meaningful. This is what he is talking about. If you have not seen the chakki, talking of the two stones, that grind you find in all these grinding mills, the chalti, the moving mill is what which grinds all your grains. So he is talking about, what is he talking about? The grinding stones refers to the life and the various dualities of life. So we are the grains and the world is the stone, the two stones, which is constantly crushing us, which is grinding us and polishing us. So the dualities. And what are the dualities in Sanskrit? We call them as dvandvas. What are the dualities of the world? There's good and bad. There's hell and heaven. There's a friend and a foe. There is poverty and opulence. There's birth and death. There's joy and sorrow. There's heat and cold. There's profit and loss. There's love and hatred. This is the world. These are the opposites. So he's talking about the two stones which grind you are the various opposites of the world that you have to experience and endure right through your life, because you are experiencing either at any point of time, isn't it? You can't escape them. You're either experiencing heat or experiencing cold. You're in company with someone who wishes you well or in company with someone who doesn't wish you well. You're going through times of profit or times of loss. You're at times of health or ill health. This is life. And the lamp Kabir cries. He is qualifying Kabir as lamp Kabir. Diya Kabira roe. Why Diya Kabira? Diya symbolizes knowledge and wisdom. Because light always is compared to wisdom, because just as light dispels darkness, wisdom dispels ignorance. So he qualifies Diya Kabira, means lamp here is a man of knowledge and wisdom. What does Roye mean? So when you hear of a tragedy, or when you hear of something unbecoming, and when you shed a tear, means when would you shed a tear for them? Hariji, when you hear something unfavorable happening, when would you shed a tear? Yes, Hariji, when would you shed a tear?
I think it's personal, Guruji, but in my case, when I find that there is general suffering which is being caused to more than just me, that is when it really hurts.
No, I don't know whether you understand what I'm asking. I'm asking it, when you see someone, sir, other day, I'm quoting you. You were talking about, I know, of the workforce, which was really troubling. They were not turning up at site. They were not working. The whole project is getting delayed. And those fellows turned up after umpty number of calls on a day, not at the time they promised. And they come empty pocketed. And they come and ask you, sir, give me some money. I want to go for lunch. You said, look at that fellow, has the audacity not to take my call. Work is getting delayed. And he has the audacity to call me, please give 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees to my workers because they want to have lunch. You said, I have nothing to do all this, and you cut the phone. And then you said, it is my personal decision. I can't see these people suffering without a meal. So I gave the money. In spite of me telling the owner that I will not give, I said, personally feeling, I can't see you fellows starving when you say you have no money. What prompted you to, you were never obligated, but still you said you parted with some money so that these workers can go and have a meal. There was a heart. You have a heart, you have a feeling, isn't it? If you went on the pure fact that these fellows have to come and they do the job, I've got nothing to do, I don't know these fellows, you fellows have been bothering me, better get your job and get out. I'll pay you fellows what you have to do. You didn't say that. Your heart felt for them. So when you cry, when Kabira says, Diya Kabira roye, when you cry, means you are able to identify with that person, isn't it? You feel, you have a heart, you feel for them out there. You felt, isn't that right, Ji? You were not heartless. You were not heartless, isn't it?
Yes, Guruji.
So extending that thought, when he says, now, Gayatri Ma, put the translation again, please. Harish, I want you to explain this phrase in the context, please. Again, just limiting to the context. Watching the grinding stones, the lamb Kabira cries. Now, what do you understand by that first half of that statement?
When you see a lot of negative things happen, the wisdom in Kabira makes him cry, or when he sees people, when you say grinding stones, you're talking of people being crushed between various pulls and pressures. He's referring to problems, or he's referring to negatives which are happening. Let's say it could be poverty, it could be anything, it could be lack of education, whatever. When you see what is happening which is not good or which doesn't agree, then it's the wisdom in you which cries out. Or it is it is not just plain simple logic, or that it is not my job, or it is. So you do get affected.
Okay. 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 Ramji, what do you think that line means, sir?
I think I mean, the first line and second line, I think they're interrelated. Second line could have come first and first line could have come second also. But I think what he says is that when the light looks at the two grinding stones, that means that the light is sensitive to the, and here light means wisdom, knowledge or wisdom that we are talking about. Looks at the drill or the grind that the world is going through out of ignorance. It feels the pain. It feels the pain, and that's why it cries. So there is a broader meaning. That's what I think is talking about how people are going through the daily grind without understanding, out of ignorance, without having the benefit of the wisdom.
You're right. You're right. You're right. In fact, absolutely right, Hariji. In fact, Ramji, you also put it. I think Gayatri must spelled it out. Seeing the humanity crushed in the dualities of life, the masters are crying out to the humanity out of compassion. They're feeling to pull you out of your ill-preparedness to face life. You're just being tossed like a masala dosa on the tawa. You're just being tossed and roasted top and bottom, not realizing how to endure and face and see the beauty and grandeur of life. You're not prepared to face life. So the lamp means a man of wisdom. Out of concern for your pitiable condition, he wants to bring you out of the state where you're being crushed by the grinding stones. Means they feel a sense of obligation to pull you out of your condition you are in because of your ignorance. So what is highlighted here is the concern these great men have for our, why do they give out these truths? What is the reason? It's only to uplift us, to bring us out from where we are caught up in. Diya, Kabir, Roy. Yes, sir.
I mean, you also mentioned that through grinding, it polishes us, right? It polishes you when you go through the grind also. So the chakki actually gives you very tasty flour or very tasty rava afterwards, which you can use to cook something good, right? So how do we explain that conflict between the grind of the world, which sometimes can help you to make you a better person, and also it could be a route towards spiritual evolution, compared to the grind of the world? I mean, I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say. Grind may be also necessary, but if you can combine it with wisdom and use the grind to become wiser, that is a better thing than just going through the grind without applying our mind and without applying wisdom.
Correct. No, I get exactly what you're saying. This is the symbolic representation behind the milk being lukewarm when you want to set the curd.
Yeah.
You can't set the curd in the hot milk, nor in the cold milk. So this knowledge, the culture which you add, into that bowl of milk. The culture is the wisdom given from the gurus is added to the milk, which is the state of the student, the shishya. What should be his state? Not cold, means he's not someone who has not seen the world, he doesn't understand, there's no experience of life, nor give to someone who is hot, who is burnt out by the world and experiences, but lukewarm, means one who has gone through, traversed the life, he has experienced what life is, and he understands the futility of it. To such a person, when this wisdom is given, he will grapple it to his soul, knowing what exactly this knowledge is talking about. So it is experience essential, but experience alone is fatal. So experience is essential. It prepares you, it gives a preparatory ground. So there's a very thin line. Experience alone is fatal, sir, but experience is essential. So the very word experience is being used in different contexts. When it does become fatal, when it becomes essential. So it is that right moment. And it is not the age that determines, it's not how many years of experience that determine whether you're ready for it. It is that right moment you got to, I don't know what decides that. Because when I got into it, I had no experience of the world. At 16, when I got into it, so much so, all the times when I went to go to college, I never had a general pass, I had a route pass. Means I could not get into any other bus than the bus which took me to the route to my college. I didn't have enough money to explore other routes in city also. Not required. So I had no experience of life. Maybe that to that extent I was ill prepared. I don't know. But there were people who worked, they had seen the world, they had traveled the world. They knew what life is. But then there were students who used to come and say, Sir, Swamiji, there's nothing that I have not experienced. I don't know whether I'm fit for this knowledge, but I want to learn. Will you accept me? I have done everything possible on earth, sir. And I know what life has to offer. I know what you're saying. I want to learn this. Will you teach me? Vada, you're enrolled already, he said. So this is the kind of thin balance. It's a very fine balance between the two. And I relate to it. Yes. Okay, sir. Right. I think we will spill over a few minutes because I see a few hands raised. Before I get to Sriniji and GBKG, Harishji, I think you have been wanting to say something. Please, sir.
Guruji, if you'll permit me, I just wanted to mention that when you are caught between the opposites in life, when you're the good and the bad, or whatever the choices which you referred as duality, then it always produces agitation. And that is what the grinding is. And it is the wisdom which clarifies or calms that agitation or sorts out that. And that is what, therefore, the combination, the agitation is a part of the duality, but it's the wisdom which produces the atta as the tasty atta which Ram referred to.
No, atta is not tasty. Chapati after that is tasty. What are you talking?
Many of them.
Maybe you have not got up on the right side today. Ma Rajima, you for breakfast give him only a plate full of atta and let's see whether he says that delicious atta. All the while you made sense. This part I disagree with you. It's the lovely chapati which comes after that is delicious, not the atta by itself. No. See, the moment the dualities affect you, that means you're ill-prepared to handle the duality. You're ill-prepared to face life. You're already crushed by it. There's an example becomes absurd beyond a point. So we'll have to limit to a certain context. But what we are saying is when these dualities crush you, means when they pound you to a point where it hurts you, that means you don't have the wisdom to accept profit or loss. You land up in your office and you get a notice that you lost your job. How can you handle that? You applied for your visa, your government, the The immigration department has rejected your visa. You're going to pack your bags and leave. You thought you're going to build your life in a foreign country. They say, pack up and get out. You have got 2 weeks time. How do you deal with that? Anything for that matter. How do you handle that? That's what wisdom defines. That's wisdom helps you prepare to face life. Therefore, Vedanta is known as a knowledge which prepares you to face life. So you need to learn this before you enter the arena of life. All right. GP Kirao Garu. Chepan sir.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om. The house which children were, one child is looking his father, how he does the puja in his puja room. So he brings the cat and put the cover on it and then do puja. Then the father passed away. So he thought that why father did, he didn't know, because every time this the cat comes and disturbs that milk, which he takes care putting the cat under control in his puja room. So then he starts, when starts puja, he brings the cat somewhere and brings it and keep it. Then only he does the puja. Then his son again seen this. Then he found that there's no cat in the house. So he's gone running all over the village to get the cat to start the puja. So the Kabir is crying, seeing this fellow is running all the way to the whole village. We have forgotten our traditions, the type of the way we are, Kabir is really crying today because people are running for money and position and also living in the concrete jungle where they don't come out.
Correct.
So many things which, we talk seeing that the fellow who is not having that intellect. But if you see most of we call the intellect people, how they are living in the concrete jungle and looking for only the happiness will come because of money, because of position. So Kabir is really is crying.
Correct. He's really crying out to us.
Yes.
Nice story, sir, to end with. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
So nice.
Yes, sir. Sriniji, anything? You wanted to comment something, clarify?
Well, we're running late. I was also thinking about the metaphor of Chakki, because I think in the olden days, the Chakki, you had one which is a stationary and one which is rotating, the top generally. So I felt the duality of life was really the top part, and the stability or the equanimity was actually the base, is what I also felt.
See, don't highlight my ignorance publicly.
Okay.
What have you got against me? Huh? I have done little preparation. I picked up some picture I'm showing you all. Now you tell me more than that. I have to do a lot more research on Chakki now. So I never knew that one is stationary, one is moving, one is this. This is beyond my limited intellect to fathom, sir. Complicated. Rumba heavy for me. Huh? But I'm sure, yeah, that's what it is, isn't it?
It's just a different way of metaphor. I'm just thinking, why would he choose a metaphor like this?
So why these men picked up these, because in fact you extend the same thing to Upanishads also. These masters always spoke of nature. It only meant that they were in that environment and they just looked at things that happened around them and they started relating it. And because people could relate to the philosophy because they went through this exercise. You and me don't grind. We go to a supermarket and pick it up from a store. But for their livelihood, they had to literally grind every day their grains. So they were more related to these experiences. They could relate that to their lives. You and I only see a picture. But it was day in and day out affair for them. So they used the examples so that they could relate to in their day-to-day experiences. That's the only reason. So even in Upanishads, you find they talk of the tree, the sun, the waters, because they were always living in nature. So when they looked at the tree and the sun, they could relate to the philosophy. and the birds. In fact, the whole Mundaka Upanishad is talking of two birds perched on the tree. The whole Upanishad talks of the two birds. And the two birds, one is the Jiva, one is the Atman. Look at that. The whole Upanishad, perhaps the master was sitting under a tree. Few students were at his feet. And he looked at the tree and the two birds were perched. He started talking, and that became an Upanishad where you and I are trying to grapple. What are these two birds? Why is he talking of two birds? This is what it is, you see. You get it? Okay. Now, I would want to leave you all with a question, apart from what was given earlier. Now, each one of us are subjected to these dualities. The question is, how does one relate to these dualities? Whether be it profit, loss, whatever the dualities are, needless to mention, how does one relate to these dualities of life? To come with answers, we can take up this question as well, right?